Hey everyone, I haven't touched this shirt since 2002 with good reason. I feel this shirt should be actually preserved in a Disney museum somewhere because someone very special gave me the shirt, and I'll explain to you who it is in a few. But the reason why I'm wearing this shirt is because I want to talk to you all today about one of my favorite Disney animated films, and that is Lilo and Stitch. And the rumors are true. I actually introduced Nani to Lilo in real life. So Lilo is a voice played by Daveigh Chase. She's the actress actually that a lot of people don't know. She was the ghost in The Ring, the girl that came out of the well. Well, that's Lilo. And I introduced her to Tia Carrere, who was my VIP tour, during a press event party over at Disney's Typhoon Lagoon Water Park. Prior to the party, I actually met Daveigh Chase and had a little fun conversation with her. But that night, Tia and I were at the party, and Tia asked me who that little girl was. And I said, well, that's your little sister, Daveigh, or Lilo. And Tia says, that's Daveigh Chase? And I said, yeah. So I said, do you want me to introduce you to her? And so I brought them together, and that's how Lilo and Nani met for the very first time. Cool, huh? Well, I want to talk to you all about this film because it takes place in Hawaii, and that's why it's one of my favorite films. And also because I had the opportunity to take Tia Carrere around. She was there for a press event at Walt Disney World Resort. And the reason why it was at the Walt Disney World Resort was because Lilo and Stitch was actually created at the Feature Animation Building over at then Disney MGM Studios. And Tia was on my wish list. She was there, so that's how I got the opportunity to take her around. I actually had dinner with Tia Carrere before she even came to Florida. I was visiting my family in Hawaii, and my good friends Chris and Frankie invited me to dinner one night because Chris and Tia are good friends. And so they invited me to dinner at this place called the Plumeria Cafe over at the Kahala Mandarin. And that was when I got to have dinner with them. And I got a chance to talk to Tia, though I was a little nervous. I did mention that she was on my wish list and that if she ever came to Walt Disney World, I hoped that I would have the opportunity to take her around. And she told me that she was going to be there a couple of months prior. So I got so excited, and I told her to please request me. A couple of months later, my VIP tour department called me, and Dawn was the talent relations coordinator at that time. I love Dawn. If you ever got a call from Dawn, you know that you would get a celebrity 9 out of 10 times. So when I got a call from Dawn, I got super excited because this was going to be my very first major celebrity tour. And Dawn told me about the press event, and it was going to be about a 4-day weekend event. And I was like, what? I'm going to get paid to hang out with Tia and the cast of Lilo and Stitch and go to parties? Yeah, sign me up. And get paid for it. So that's what I did. We had a meeting the day before I met up with Tia for my tour. And Dawn said that there was going to be a lot of airport pickups, going to be early mornings, there's going to be events going on, there's going to be parties, but you're still going to be working. So of course we had to remain professional as Disney VIP tour guides. But we were all still excited inside, right? My friends Irene and Clay and Doug, we were all tour guides for the voice actors. And I was assigned to, of course, Tia Carrere. Now, before I picked her up at the airport, which was, I think it was about 5 or 6 in the morning. It was kind of so early in the morning. But before that, the office asked if I wanted to see a screening of Lilo and Stitch before it debuted in the theaters. I got to go to the Feature Animation Building the night before, and I got to sit with the artists and a lot of the people that played a big part in the film. We were in the Feature Animation Theater at Disney MGM Studios, and I got to watch the film in its entirety with them. This is where I got to meet this person named Chris Sanders. For those who don't know who Chris Sanders is, I feel he's a Disney legend because he is the creator of Lilo and Stitch. He was the person that thought of the idea. And he was also the voice of Stitch.
Oh my goodness!
So I immediately drew myself to him and I said, I need to talk to this guy. But anyway, we formed a connection. He's so cool. He loves Hawaii. He loves to surf, which is why he created Lilo and Stitch. And I got to strike a conversation with him and got to know him a little bit better throughout the weekend. And he's the one that gave me this shirt, which is why it's so special to me. After the screening that night, I had to go home early because I had to pick up Tia at the airport. Her early report time, her arrival was at around 5 or 6 a.m. And I didn't want to go to sleep because I was scared that I might oversleep and not pick her up. So I went to the airport, picked her up, and once I saw her, it was like long lost friends because she gave me a huge hug and she remembered me and she was so excited to be with me that weekend. And I was like, wow. Anyway, I took her to her resort, her hotel, got settled in, and we started to play in the parks with her publicist. So all three of us just hung out, and we also got to meet up with her good friend, who is Jason Scott Lee. Jason Scott Lee is the voice of David from Lilo and Stitch, who is also Nani's boyfriend. And fun fact, Tia actually connected Jason to Disney, and Tia recommended Jason Scott Lee be the voice of David because David and Tia are from Hawaii, so they wanted voice actors that were authentic to the islands. So we got to play in the parks with Jason Scott Lee and we hung out. Then the next day it was the press event. I had to take Tia Carrere to the feature animation building for her day one of work, doing a lot of interviews. That's what they call the press junkets. So for those of you who do not know what a press junket is, it is when there's a movie that comes out, the way to promote it is by having media interview the actors. You're taken into a room, or the actors are being taken into a room, and the media goes at appointed times to interview them, whether it be Entertainment Tonight or Access Hollywood or People Magazine. It was their time to interview them to promote the film itself. So while Tia and the rest of the voice actors were doing their thing, the tour guides got to hang out down at the feature animation building and just explore. So it was me and my good friends Irene, Clay, Doug. We all got to hang out and wait for our tour by exploring, taking art classes. There was an art class downstairs. We got to learn how to watercolor because in Lilo and Stitch, part of the animation was done, the background was done in watercolor. So we got to do that. And we got to also meet the other animators that were in the building itself. I want to show you something too. So these are some of the voice actors that were in the film. And I framed this, but this was part of the press packets that the media got. So these were some of the voice actors from the film itself. And this is me and Chris. And yes, I got to keep Tia's room key and the letter from the feature animation building. I don't think Disney knew about that. But anyways, that night, the actors and the animators were treated to a red carpet event over at AMC Theaters at the then Downtown Disney, which is now Disney Springs. So we got ready, got to go to the red carpet event, and at the red carpet event, there's two giant theater rooms inside AMC Theaters. It's Theater 1 and Theater 2. So we utilized Theater 2, and the red carpet was where the actors would come down the red carpet, and there was a media there as well. And as tour guides, we got to sit with the actors. So we got to walk down the red carpet as well, got our complimentary popcorns and candy, and we got to go into the theater. Now with this movie premiere, before the movie starts, you would have some of the actors go on stage and talk, but we also had Michael Eisner, who was our chief executive officer back then, and also Chris Sanders and Roy E. Disney. They were on stage in front of the screen talking about the film itself before the movie started. So I was with Tia. I sat next to her in the theater in the first front row. And then when the movie started, as soon as the lights went off and the credits rolled, Tia tapped me and said, "Let's go." I was like, "What?" She said, "I've seen this so many times, let's go." So anyway, and she loved the film, but she's seen it so many times that week that she said, "Okay, well, she wanted to go to the theater to the premiere to make sure to make an appearance, but then we left. Guess where we went? We went to the Orlando Premium Outlets, which is down the street from downtown Disney. So I took Tia and her publicist, and we went shopping at the Orlando Premium Outlets. This was around 5 or 6 o'clock at night, and we got chased by a lot of fans over at the Premium Outlets. By the way, side note, back then tour guides were able to take families and tours around the property, and that was a laid back rule back then, but now I believe it's more strict. So, but we went to the Orlando Premium Outlets and we shopped around, but we were on a time crunch because after the premiere at the AMC theaters, there was a big press event party over at Disney's Typhoon Lagoon water park, where the entire water park was reserved for the press event. So we had all the actors there. We had Michael Eisner there, Roy E. Disney. So we didn't want to miss that event. So after the shopping, we drove to Disney's Typhoon Lagoon water park. And yeah, then we got to party. I remember it very well. It was raining hard, so there wasn't people swimming or anything. We were tucked under these awnings. A lot of the actors and a lot of us were just finding shelter wherever we can. Well, I got stuck in a shelter where Roy E. Disney and Michael Eisner were there, so I got to introduce myself. And Tia and I and the publicist, forgive me, I don't remember her name, but we were there under the tents eating when Tia asked me who that girl was, that little girl in front of us. And I told her that was Daveigh Chase. She's the voice of Lilo. And I met Daveigh the day prior, actually, because we were waiting around at the feature animation building. And Daveigh was there, and so I talked to Daveigh and her mom. But anyway, at the Typhoon Lagoon Water Park press event, I introduced Tia to Daveigh. Tia says, I've never met her before. We recorded our voices from different coasts. I believe Daveigh was recording her voice over in New York and Tia was in Los Angeles. So in the film, when you watch Lilo and Nani interact, they're recording separately and they've never met. So that was pretty interesting. I did introduce Lilo to Nani, and to this day, I can't believe that was part of my Disney history, and that's probably one of the coolest things that I've ever done as a Disney cast. Next day was actually the last day of the press junket. It was a half day for the actors. After the last round of interviews with the actors, we were treated to a private lunch over at the Hollywood Brown Derby at Disney MGM Studios. There's a private room on the side of the restaurant called the Bamboo Room. It's a room that had like a long banquet table, and we got to have lunch with the actors, some of the Disney executives, as well as Winona Judd. After lunch, I took Tia and a few of her friends to Epcot. We walked around World Showcase that afternoon, and it was challenging only because Tia was she hadn't changed. She was in her interviewing attire. Her hair was done up well. She had makeup on, and she had a nice dress and high heels. And clearly, she was recognized. There was an entourage of people following us, wanting her picture and her autographs. But so after Epcot, we went to the Walt Disney World Resort, Swan and Dolphin, at this Japanese restaurant called Kimonos, because her and Jason Scott Lee, who's the voice of David, they wanted to go to karaoke, or karaoke for those who pronounce it karaoke. But it was pretty fun because Irene, who's the tour guide of Jason, and I were just sitting in the audience watching Tia and Jason Scott Lee performing a duet together, and I was like, wow, we're actually getting paid for this. That was my wow moment. It doesn't get any better than this. The next day was our last day together, and it was really sad. It was a day that I dropped off Tia and her publicist to their Orlando International Airport as they were heading home to Los Angeles. On the way to the airport, I asked Tia for a small favor. So I asked her if she could record her voice of Nani for my outgoing voice message for my phone. She said yes. I gave her my phone, and this is what she said. She said, "Hi, this is Nani. You've reached Les. Sorry he can't come to the phone right now because he's out taking Lilo, Stitch, and myself out to lunch. So please leave a message." After she gave me back the phone, I was like, oh my gosh. Actually, for a whole month, I had that outgoing voice message until the day that I accidentally deleted it. Oops. But I did have it for a couple of months, so I did cherish that. But to this day, I will never let myself down for deleting that message. But it was a fun weekend, and I dropped them off, gave them a huge hug, and thanked them for one of the best moments in my Disney career. But the icing on the cake was when a couple of weeks later, I got a package from the office. It was from Chris Sanders, who left a thank you note, as well as this t-shirt that I'm wearing, this Aloha shirt. So forever to this day, I will always remember that moment, all the wonderful people I have met along the way there. And I couldn't ask for more of an amazing time. If you like this video or this episode, please like and please subscribe. I appreciate it. I can't wait to share more wonderful stories with you. Till then, aloha.